1 second. Okay. Yeah, for those of you who are on a phone, you won't be able to appreciate this. And for those of you who are on your old Zoom client, you won't be able to appreciate this. But this is a classroom setup. What I'm seeing is everybody's seated in a classroom. And if you update your Zoom client on your computer, you will see what I'm seeing. But unfortunately, you're all not up to date. So, all right, so let's start. I think we're ready to start. Right now. Oh, you're not a member of our classroom. Let me move you down to our classroom. Put you down here. Okay, let's get started. So before tomorrow, everyone should download the new Zoom client, and you'll be able to see what I'm seeing. Which is, everyone who has a new Zoom client will look like they're seated in a chair in a classroom, and I'm at the top of the classroom. Let's see, Jagat. No, nobody else has a. Nobody except for one person has a Zoom client. Jagat has. You see Jagat? Isn't that cool? Jagat's right next to me. I'm going to put you lower since you should be down at the bottom. This really enhances Zoom. So if you have the new Zoom client, you can see what I'm talking about. It's just that it won't work on the phone. It will only work on a computer. Yeah, that's what it looks like. You sign in on a computer, you'll be able to see us all. Anyway, this is more fun. Oh, let me move Goku Bandhu down. Put him. I can actually arrange where everybody is in the classroom. So, anyway, let's chant. Enough fun with technology. So today is a very special day in the Vaishnava calendar. I can see that Jagat's really enjoying this new view. It's a very special day in the Vaishnava calendar. It's actually Hanuman Jayanti, which means the appearance day of Hanuman. So we're going to be chanting again Sitarama, my Hanuman song, for all of you. Pavana Sitaram Rahupati Raghava Bhavana Sitaram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Hanuman 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 no Hanuman Hanuman no Hanuman Hanuman no Hanuman Bhakti Raghava Rajura Patita Pavana Sitaram Bhakti Raghava Rajura Patita Pavana Sitaram Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Hanuman 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 no Hanuman Hanuman no Hanuman Hanuman no Hanuman Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paramahansa also tell us that Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Hilas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopa Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamaya Ki Jai Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. Hari Hari Bol. Okay, let me just get this set up. Okay, so for those of you who don't have the latest version of this program, the Zoom app, just before tomorrow, download it and put it in, and you'll be able to see. Now I'm going to switch to the old view because many of you do not have the latest version of the Zoom app. And it's Maya. Okay, so we can switch to the old view. Okay. Here's the old view where we can see everybody. So my humble request is everybody before tomorrow, download the latest version of the Zoom app, and it'll work by tomorrow. And then you'll have a different view. It'll be much more interesting than just like little boxes here talking to you. So, anyway, Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravinakacharya Satata Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalanad Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Budale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarane. So, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Soma Ganat, Timidanda Shah, Gananjana, Shlakaya Chakshur, and Meditam Yena Tazmai, Shigare Namaha. So, actually, a few words about Hanuman's appearance, as long as we're talking about Hanuman Jayanti, which is a very, very important day in the Vaishnava calendar. Of course, Hanuman is a expansion of Lord Shiva, and he's also the son of the wind, and he's also the son of Anjani and Keshari. So here's the brief story about Hanuman's appearance. Once upon a time, Lord Shiva and Parvati were engaged in loving exchanges, and they were taking different forms, and particularly like different animal forms. And what happened is Parvati became pregnant, and she said, I don't want to give birth to a monkey, so please make arrangements. I already have one son who has an elephant head. And I think you all know who that is. And so Lord Shiva called for Vayu to do an embryo transplant. That means he took the embryo of Lord Shiva and Parvati and transported it into the womb of Anjani. And then Anjani was pregnant with Hanuman. And Anjani was just not an ordinary monkey or even Kimpurusha. She was previously the servant of Brahaspati, who had been cursed to come down to the earth planet because she had acted romantically with Brahaspati inappropriately. So, anyway, Hanuman takes birth, and he says to his mother, what's to eat, Mom? And she says, pick a nice piece of fruit, something nice and round and orangey. And Hanuman looks up in the sky, and he sees something nice and round and orangey, and that happens to be the sun. So he goes chasing after the sun. He makes himself very big because he has unlimited powers, basically because he's the son of Lord Shiva, an expansion of Lord Shiva. So he can do anything. So he makes himself very big, his mouth very big, and he's chasing after the sun. But then someone else tries to compete with him, and that person's name is Rahu, who is like the personification of the eclipse. So Rahu's chasing, and Hanuman just swishes him away. Get away, you little puny Rahu. So, which is very interesting because if one worships Hanuman, Rahu can't bother him or her. Neither can Saturn, Shani, bother him or her. Nothing can bother you if you are worshiping Hanuman by chanting what? Ram Nam, Ram Nam, Ram Nam, Ram Nam, Ram Nam. Okay? So, what happens is that Rahu makes a complaint because part of the universal order is that Rahu is supposed to be able to chase the sun. And he says, basically, let's see if there's a message. He says, basically, Indra, you got to do something about it. Indra comes. Indra fires his Vajra, the thunderbolt, and knocks Hanuman to the ground, hits him in the jaw, knocks him to the ground. He's practically unconscious. Vayu gets really upset, stops the wind all over the universe. Nobody can breathe. Nobody can digest food. Nobody can do anything because everything is controlled by the different winds in the body. And winds in the universe, winds everywhere. So basically everyone's dying. So all the demigods come, and Hanuman is brought back to life, and everyone blesses Hanuman with all these powers and everything like that, and that's the miracle, the birth of Hanuman. And then Hanuman, when he was young, he used to tease the sages, and when he was teasing the sages, they got very upset, and they cursed him, "You shall forget all your powers until you're reminded of your powers." So then later on, he met Lord Ram. And Hanuman had this pendant on him that only Lord Ram could see. So when he finally met Lord Ram, and this was outside of Mount Rishimukh, where he was guarding Sugriva, Lord Ram noticed the pendant, and then Hanuman understood that this was his worshipful Lord, Lord Ram. And then Hanuman manifested his actual form as Kimpurusha and carried Ram and Lakshman to the ashram of Sugriva. And then you have the rest of the Ramayana story, which I'm not going to tell right now. So today we worship Hanuman. And if you worship Hanuman, you will be very determined, very strict in devotional service. Hanuman is a brahmachari. So for those who want to be brahmacharis, you can worship Hanuman, who will give you great strength and power. Hanuman ki jai. So it's Hanuman Jayanti. Now we'll go on to the Caitanya Caritamrta with a brief introduction. Today is a very, very important day in the Vaishnava calendar, Hanuman Jayanti, or the appearance of Hanuman. And those of you who are serious, you will actually worship Hanuman and pray to him for strength. As a devotee, he's not God. Some people have a misunderstanding, and they worship Hanuman as God. He's not God. He's servant of Ram. He's always at Ram's feet, ready to do anything that Ram wants. He is so chaste that one time he saw Sita Devi putting sindoor on her hair. That means the red powder, for those of you who don't know. And he said, "What's that for?" And Sita Devi said, "This makes Ram's life very auspicious when I put the sindoor on my hair." And Hanuman had a better idea. He took the sindoor and put it all over his body, because he thought, it's going to help Lord Ram. I'm willing to do anything. So he put it all over his body, and Sita Devi said, "What are you doing? A red monkey? Who ever heard of a red monkey before?" And he said, "I'm doing this for my Lord Ram." So that's how devoted he was to Lord Ram. And he's always chanting Ram Nam, and he's still in this world today, in Kimpurusha Loka, worshipping a deity of Lord Ram. He is so faithful to Lord Ram that even when Krishna wanted to bring him to Dwarka, he refused. Krishna sent a message with Garuda, "Please come to Dwarka to see me." And Hanuman said, "No way. I only listen to Ram, not to that Krishna." So then, that's great devotion. And then what happened is that Krishna took the form of Ram, and Rukmini took the form of Sita Devi. And then they sent Garuda back and said, Sita and Ram want to see you, and Hanuman flew immediately back, and he was able to see Sita and Ram, his worshipful deities. So, many, many stories I have about Hanuman, but let's go to the Caitanya Charitamrta and hear about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And of course, in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, you have a Hanuman appearing as Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associate who kept a diary of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Navadvip. And that diary formed the basis of the Chaitanya Bhagavat and the Chaitanya Mangal. A lot of the information in the Chaitanya Bhagavat in the Chaitanya Mangal. So, anyway, so Hanuman ki jai, let's go to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta. All right. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. As Pran Govinda asked the question, if we don't imitate, we follow. How is Hanuman's imitating glorified? Because this was done out of bhav. He wasn't imitating Sita. He was following in the footsteps of Sita. If he was imitating Sita, he would have put a sari on and wanted to marry Ram. That's a little bit different. Pran Govinda, you got to ask a little better question than that one. Like you're imitating Sita, then you'd have the mood of Sita. But you're following her footsteps and doing the same thing, just like, for example, what did Nityananda, Lord Nityananda and Haridas Thakur do to please Lord Chaitanya? They preached door to door. They were preaching door to door and asking everyone to chant the Lord's holy names. So we do the same thing. But we don't imitate them. I don't act like Lord Nityananda and wear a lot of jewelry on me. And I don't act like Haridas Thakur and chant 192 rounds every day, or 3 lakhs of rounds every day. I follow their direction, their bhakti. Just like Prabhupada. Prabhupada was dedicated to his spiritual master. Prabhupada was dedicated to preaching Krishna consciousness. So I look at what pleases his spiritual master, and then I do the same thing to please Prabhupada. Oh, how about that? In the same way, Hanuman was doing the same thing to please Ram that Sita Devi was doing. And imitation would mean that he would imitate Sita Devi. There's a difference. You understand? Imitating, he would put a sari. Can you imagine Hanuman with a sari on? Hanuman getting married to Lord Ram. In those days, that really wasn't allowed. But he was doing her devotional service. You know what the example she said of devotional service. And he was doing it out of ecstasy, not out of false ego. Out of ecstasy, sometimes there is imitation even. In this case, it wasn't imitation. Just like the gopis, when they were experiencing separation from Krishna, they imitated Krishna. You know, pure devotees can do that. I mean, gopis are not just pure devotees. They're Shaktis. They were imitating Krishna. One gopi stepped on the head of another gopi, thinking that that gopi was Kaliya. And the gopi who was stepping on the head thought that she was Krishna. They were imitating Krishna's pastimes out of ecstasy. So that's all right. If you're in ecstasy, you can get away with any damn thing. But if you're not in ecstasy, you better behave yourself. I mean, these are... So I don't want to see any devotee putting cinder all over their body tomorrow. You know, that's all I need, is to come to the temple tomorrow morning and find some brahmachari with cinder all over his body, all over the hair, or some devotee who has a beard, which is not so nice, putting cinder in his beard. Anyway, anusar anukar. Interesting point. So let's continue with the Caitanya Caritamrta before it gets too late. So this part of the Caitanya Caritamrta is delineating a summary of the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he was exhibiting ecstasy during the final years in Jagannath Puri. Anyara ye dukamane, anye taha nahi jane, sachahe shastra ravichare, anya jana kahan likhi, ne janaye prana sakhi, yate kahe darya, rivarahe. In the scriptures it is said that one person can never know the unhappiness in the mind of another. Therefore, what can I say of my dear friends Lila and the others? Nor can they understand the unhappiness within me. This is Radharani speaking. They simply try to console me repeatedly, saying, "Dear friend, be patient." Whew. Krishna kripa parabara kabu karibena angikara sakitora he vyartavachana jivara jivana chanchala yena padma patrera jala tata dina jive kona jana. I say, my dear friends, you are asking me to be patient, saying that Krishna is an ocean of mercy and that sometime in the future he will accept me. However, I must say that this will not console me. A living entity's life is very flickering. It is like water on the leaf of a lotus flower. Who will live long enough to expect Krishna's mercy? Wow. You know, extreme spiritual depression. So depression is even there in the spiritual realm, but that depression is ecstasy. Hopelessness is ecstasy. In the material world, hopelessness is sickness, misery, depression. In the spiritual world, there's a spiritual hopelessness, which sometimes yields to hope against hope, which is like a great hope. Krishna will come and take me. Shatavatsara parinta jivara jivananta evakya kaha navichari narira yovanodana yare Krishna kare mana se yovanadina tvichari. A living being does not live for more than 100 years. You should all also consider that the youthfulness of a woman, which is the only attraction for Krishna, remains for only a few days. So the gopis, yes, but the disappointment in the spiritual world is actually spiritual and ecstasy. It's not material. So the gopis are lamenting, or Radharani is lamenting, thinking that Krishna will not be attracted to her because the youthfulness, which is true in this material world, not for Radharani, of course, but in this material world, the youthfulness just lasts for a short time. Oftentimes, and this is a little funny, and please excuse me for any offenses I may commit, oftentimes when a man wants to get married, I say to him that if you want to see what your wife will look like in a few years, look at your wife's mother. That's who you're going to be married to. And of course, usually people are so bewildered with, love. They don't even hear that statement, but it's a true statement. So anyway, dehinao smen yata dehe komaram javanam jara tata dehantaras praptir Dhirastatra namuyati. That the embodied soul is passing from boyhood to youth, or girlhood to youth to old age. And of course, then you pass through another body. So it is a fact. But Radharani has, or she is, a spiritual body. So there's no question of her looking old. There's no question of God looking old. Sometimes you find depicted in the Christian literature, you see God depicted as a very old man with arthritis, particularly in the Sistine Chapel, that particular picture made by Michelangelo. But he's Navayovanam Cha. And all the pure devotees in their spiritual bodies are always youthful. But Radharani is an anxiety here. What will Krishna be attracted by? Actually, Krishna is attracted by love. Bhakti Mam Abhijanati Abhinyaschasmi Tatvataha. Okay. These are very intense spiritual emotions. You could see Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's actually a devotee of Srimati Radharani. Who else could understand the mood of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna in the mood of Radharani. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. Agniyache Nijadama Dekaya Abhirama Patangire Akarshiha Mare Krishna Iche Nijaguna Dekaya Hari Mana Pacha Pache Duga Samudre Te Dare. If you say that Krishna is an ocean of transcendental qualities and therefore must be merciful someday, I can only say that he is like fire, which attracts moths by its dazzling brightness and kills them. Such are the qualities of Krishna. So here's something like anger, or man. Or man, her disappointment. So here's disappointment. By showing us his transcendental qualities, he attracts our minds, and then later, by separating from us, he drowns us in an ocean of unhappiness. Sometimes people say, well, there's no unhappiness in the spiritual world. But there's spiritual unhappiness, which is happiness. Because why? This mood of Radharani, the intense feelings of transcendental unhappiness, which is happiness, they're pleasing to Krishna, and she's very happy that she's pleasing Krishna. She actually says, or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in the final chapter of the Chaitanya Caritamrta, if my unhappiness gives Krishna happiness, then that's my happiness. That's love. If it makes your beloved, now this is not the material world, don't apply this in relationship between your husband and wife, please do not. But spiritually, gopis are thinking, if it makes my beloved happy to see me unhappy, then I want to be unhappy. That's a higher stage. Now, in the beginning of devotional service, what do you want? You want freedom from distress? You want money? Sorry. Wealth. You want to find out a little bit of curious information about Krishna? Or you want to understand Krishna? That's the beginning. Usually people come because they're in distress. They come to God. And you think, oh, if I come to God, I will get everything. You will get everything, but not in the way you want it. And that's why in the Christian world they preach this thing called prosperity gospel. What does that mean? That if you serve God, you'll be prosperous and drive around in a Tesla. And then you see these perfect people. They're not actually perfect, but they look like they're perfect. They get on their stage. There's a man with his trophy wife who gets on the stage. The minister and his wife get on the stage, and you think, wow, this is what I want. And actually, little do you know that they're miserable. But, they're on stage. All the world's a play, and everyone's players in it. So, but that's really not the point. But people come to God for that reason. Yeah, we understand, and it's very attractive. If I were to advertise that if you give something to Radha Golokananda, they'll give it back to you millions of times. Like if you give $100, you will get $100 million. And then I make up some story you put on the internet. Here's this person who gave $1 to Radha Golokananda, and then he won the lottery 2 days later. Then everybody would come to the temple. The temple would become so crowded that we wouldn't be able to keep people away. People are attracted by that. So that's a lower stage. And then even a higher stage is, I want to get out of this world. You know, can't get no satisfaction, as the song goes. That's a little higher stage. I want to get liberated. I want to go back to God. Or in personal liberation, that's there. And even higher is personal liberation. I want to go back to Godhead so I can enjoy in the spiritual world and eat the fruits from the desire trees and take the milk products from the Surabhi cows. I love those Surabhi cows. They can give me milk, cream, butter, ice cream, pizza, like that. So that's I don't know if that's a higher stage, but that's a little higher. I want to go back to the spiritual world where all song is a dance and dance is song. And then the highest stage is Janmani Janmanishvare Bhavatad Bhakti Haritaki Tvaye. I just want to give you happiness, Krishna. Whatever gives you happiness. And as our great sage, Prangovinda, posted something here from the Caitanya Charitamrta, Radharani said, I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. That's the highest state. But you cannot imitate that. If you try to imitate that and you're not ready, you will explode. Literally, either go crazy or something will happen. I feel sorry for you. So don't imitate that state. That's Radharani. And you have great devotees praying other things, like Queen Kunti praying, what? Please let these difficulties happen again and again. And she had so many difficulties. They tried to kill her children. They tried to kill her. They tried to poison her son. They tried to disrobe her daughter-in-law. So many things. And so she's praying again and again, have these difficulties come, Krishna, so I can always see you and won't see repeated birth and death. Phew. Prabhupada said we shouldn't pray like that. You're not on that level. We should pray, don't send any more difficulties, Krishna. You got enough. Enough is enough, Krishna. That's it, you know. Take it easy on me. That's how we should pray. Because we're not on that level. You have to pray in accordance with the level of devotional service you're at. Because what I usually pray for is that let the people I'm trying to help in devotional service make some spiritual advancement and hear your holy names. I pray for them. Because that's pleasing to Krishna. Okay. Next verse. Eteka vilapakare vishare Shri Gorahari Ugdhadya dukera kapata Pavera taranga bale Nana rupe manachale Araeka shloka koila pata. In this way, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lamented in a great ocean of sadness, and thus he opened the doors of his unhappiness, forced by the waves of ecstasy. So this is ecstasy. So in this verse you see ecstasy and unhappiness juxtaposed. His mind wandered over transcendental mellows, and he recited another verse as follows. This is perhaps the highest understandings that you're hearing right now. So just listen, try to understand it if you can, or appreciate. Shri Krishna Rupadi Nishevanam Vina Vyartani Mehan Yakilendriyandalam Pashana Shukshendana Varakanyaho Vivarmi Vatani Katam Hata Tapaha Trapaha. Right? My dear friends, unless I serve the transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes of Krishna, all my days and my senses will become entirely useless. Now I am uselessly bearing the burden of my senses, which are like stone blocks and dried wood. I do not know how long I will be able to continue without shame. Like it's often said, this body is a evidence of our shame. You know, you say, I'm not guilty, I'm not guilty. Well, you're walking around with the proof of your guilt. Proof is this body. But you use it in Krishna's service and it becomes the means for liberation, just like a thorn that's stuck in your foot can be gotten out by another thorn. Nice. Vamshi ganamrita dama lavanyamrita janmastana yena deki se chandavatana se nayanaki bhakaja paduka taramunde bhaja se nayana rahe ki harana. Or what use of the eyes of one who does not see the face of Krishna, which resembles the moon, and the birthplace of all beauty, and the reservoir of the transcendental nectarian songs of his flute. Oh, let a thunderbolt strike his head. Why does he keep such eyes? In other words, what's the use? And it's very similar to the verse in the Bhagavatam that says, basically, if one doesn't go to see the form of the Lord, one's eyes are like the eyes on the plumes of a peacock. Ooh. And his ears are like snake holes. Whew. And his tongue is like the tongue of frogs. Why is the tongue of frogs used? I mean, the snake holes analogy we can understand. And the eyes, like the eyes of a peacock's plume, we can understand. Well, the tongue of a frog, what does the frog's tongue do? Well, the frog, here's an interesting story, is ostensibly trying to attract the female frogs, the froginis. I made up that word, which many people hate when I make up words like that. The frog is trying to attract the froginis. But while he's attracting, or attempting to attract the froginis with his voice, like sometimes even human beings, they are chanting to attract the girls. The girls are chanting to attract the boys. You chant so beautifully. Anyway, so the frogs are also attracting the snakes. Yes, they're attracting the snakes. Death. Because that's how the snakes know. Oh, there's prasadam here. Ribbit, ribbit, prasadam, ribbit, ribbit, prasadam. And so the snakes eat the frog in one gulp. Anyway, poor frogs, poor snakes. So anyway, so they're calling death. So one doesn't use his eyes to see the beautiful form of Krishna, the ears to hear about the glories of Krishna, to hear the flute of Krishna, and his tongue to chant about the glories of Krishna, and his legs to walk to the deity, to the temple of Krishna, and his feet or his hands to serve the deity, serve the Vaishnavas, then all parts of his body are actually useless. The moon-like face of Krishna is the reservoir of nectarian songs and the abode of his flute. It is also the root of all bodily beauty. You see Krishna's beauty, everything else is simply a reflection. The gopis think that if their eyes were not engaged in seeing the beautiful face of Krishna, it would be better for them to be struck by a thunderbolt. For the gopis to see anything but Krishna is uninteresting and indeed detestable. Of course, that's not that they are not aware of their surroundings, but they see Krishna in everything and everywhere. Yomam pashati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashati tashaham na pranashami sachame na pranashati, according to Bhagavad Gita. The gopis are never pleased to see anything but Krishna. So that's how we should see Krishna in everything. What does that mean practically? We see how to engage it in Krishna's service. We see it as Krishna's energy. We see Krishna's given us our quota. So everything can be connected to Krishna in some way. Even if we see someone who is in Maya, we can appreciate how strong Krishna's illusory energy is. What is it? Mama Maya Durachya. The only solace for their eyes is the beautiful moon-like face of Krishna, the worshipful object of all senses. And actually, I experience that when I go to see the deities. There's the only solace for my eyes. When they cannot see the beautiful face of Krishna, they actually see everything as vacant, and they desire to be struck by a thunderbolt. Oh, I'm not that advanced. They do not find any reason to maintain their eyes when they are bereft of the beauty of Krishna. Wow, that is so, so beautiful. So that's the 29. All right, so we did 13 to 29. Okay, got it. Okay, so now we will allow you to take questions. All you nice devotees. Allow participants to unmute yourselves. Okay, all right, who would like to ask a question at this particular juncture? Anyone?
Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances.
Okay, Rakesh.
Guru Maharaj, I was reading Nectar of Instruction, I think in the sloka number 10, and it is in the purport, it says that Srimati Radharani and in the Radha Kund and Krishna have a 12 bhava in a day. Can you please explain on that?
Have what?
12 bhava, 12, I forgot the actual word they use in the purport, is 12, in a day they have a 12 kind of...
There's eight segments in the day. That's called Ashtakaliya Lila.
Okay, can you please explain?
Prahara.
What's that?
Prahara.
Prahara. 12 Prahara?
Yes.
Let me look at that nectar instruction. Those are times. Prahara is like, that would be like times. But there's 8 segments of the day, which are like the Ashtakaliya Lila. Hold on a second. Ashtakaliya Lila. Anyway, I'll have to look it up. I don't have time to look it up right now. Ask me about something about today's class.
Today's class, yes, ma'am. I was like yesterday thinking about the class like Srimad from the Jagannath Vilas Natika by the Ramanand Roy. That's a very elevated subject, and I don't think I'm ready to read that. But I was in the morning chanting. I was thinking about the feelings of Srimati Radharani for Krishna, and I was just wondering how to approach this feeling. I personally think I'm not ready to read like the rasa bhav, like the conjugal love.
Then you don't. Then basically read Bhagavad Gita and Isopanishad and the beginning part of Nectar Devotion. These are very elevated subject matters, and I wouldn't worry about the. I know Praharas means time of day. 8 times 3 is 24 hours, but there's actually Ashtakaliya Lila. There's 8 times of the day of Krishna's Lila. Okay, anyway, don't worry about that right now. It's not the time for you to think about that. All right?
Yeah.
Don't be premature. So, who else has a question? No one else has a question. We can end early.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Oh, bye, Caitanya. Good to hear from you.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, I'm in the city here, so I can't take my video off. But just very quickly, just on Hanumanji, you said he's he's a Kim Purusha, and in Kim Purusha Loka. Can you please just explain what sort of lok is that and where it's situated? Does it get destroyed with the annihilation? Like a little bit of information on that, if you don't mind, please.
Well, Kim Purusha means, is he a human being? In other words, he's not quite a monkey. And the Kim Purushas are like higher living entities. And that's Hanuman. Kim Purusha. That means, is he a person or is he a man? And there's this loka. It's described in the Bhagavatam that Hanuman is situated in Kim Purusha Loka, and he's chanting the glories of Ram, and he's worshiping Ram all the time. As far as exactly the geographical location of Kim Purusha Loka, I don't know. I don't really
Okay,
know.
Maharaj.
It's good to see you in Sydney. One day the COVID will allow me to go to Sydney too.
I know, Maharaj. We'd love to have you here, Maharaj.
You know, I'd love to come there, but it's not Krishna's desire right now. So yeah, so it's Kim Purusha Loka, Hanuman is chanting there, and Hanuman remains. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention. Hanuman was given the benediction of remaining in this material world. Kim Purusha Loka does come to an end at the time of the cosmic dissolution, and Hanuman was given a benediction to remain as long as the glories of Ram are chanted on the earth planet. So that's a long time. So Hanuman actually wanted to go with Ram when all the residents of Ayodhya entered in the Sarayu River, and they went back to the Ayodhya in the spiritual world. And Ram said to Hanuman, you stay here, and you chant my glories, and you assist my devotees. Also, he said the same thing to Vibhishan. He ordered Vibhishan to stay in this world. So that's actually considered higher, where one stays or comes to this world to serve Ram, than one who actually goes back to the spiritual world. Because that's a manifestation of the devotee's compassion or mercy. So Hanuman is a manifestation of the mercy of Ram. Ram Duta Hanuman ki jai. Okay.
Jai. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you for the nice question. So who else wants to ask a question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you were saying that we shouldn't try to imitate Srimati Radharani, saying that if my unhappiness is your happiness, then my unhappiness is my happiness. But is it okay to at least meditate on that perhaps the troubles that Krishna's putting me through give him happiness, and so they shouldn't get me down either? Like, I should be happy at all these troubles?
Yeah. You can try that if it works. That's a hard meditation. Yes, you can definitely do that. But at the same time, we should understand what level we're at. Because if we say to Krishna, my unhappiness, if it gives you happiness, then please make me unhappy, we may not be ready for the result of that particular request. Or just like Queen Kunti, she's praying for more and more misery. Yes, we should see misery as being sent by Krishna, but we don't pray for more of it. Unless you're Queen Kunti, unless you're on that level of devotional service. Because she was so determined to get out of this material world. I mean, this is one of the symptoms of a pure devotee, or someone who is really determined to become Krishna conscious. They're so determined, they're willing to endure anything. Just like Bebahuti said to Lord Kapila Dev. She said, Asad Indriya Tarshanat Prapanandam Adam Tumut Prabhu. She said, I'm sick of the disturbances caused by these senses. Please become my master and guide me. So most of us, to be honest, are not sick of the Asad Indriya Tarshanat. What is the asadindriya tarshana? Means the disturbances caused by the senses, because we want the good stuff, or so-called good stuff, coming from the senses, and we're not ready to give up our attachment. So one has to be honest about one's position. Yes, whatever happens, we should see Krishna there, Krishna behind it, learn a lesson, think that, tate nukampam sushamikshmana bhunjanabatma kritam vipakam ridvag bapurvir vridadam namaste jiveta yo mukti pade sadayabak. We should take anything that happens to us that creates misery as a token reaction for all the past things that we've done in this world, and then go on serving Krishna with our body, mind, and words. Yes. But to imitate Radharani and say, that if it makes you happy to see me miserable, make me happy, Krishna. I'm not ready. Maybe you are ready to say that. I ain't ready to say that. I'll try my best, like you say, to see Krishna behind everything, to understand that if it makes Krishna happy to see me miserable, all right, I accept it. But I'm not going to say, Krishna, bring it on. It's going to make you happy to see me miserable? Make me miserable, Krishna. So what do you think?
I certainly am not going to pray for misery, but one thought that I don't know if it's a realization or just a mental speculation, but one thought that I had about why it makes Krishna happy when the gopis are crying for him is because it shows their love for him, that they're,
yes.
So I was thinking, even for us conditioned souls in this material world, the reality is our unhappiness is symptomatic of our being separated from Krishna. And so in that sense, it's a positive experience because it draws us closer to him.
If we take it like that.
Right.
It's just a big if. Some people become bitter. I've seen many devotees become bitter when something happens to them and they don't see Krishna behind it. Yes, if you see it as Krishna behind it, then definitely it can become an impetus for coming closer to Krishna. But it's not exactly the same as the gopis experiencing unhappiness because they're separated from Krishna. My unhappiness may be because I'm not appreciated enough or something like that. But the gopis' unhappiness is due to the fact that they just want to be with Krishna. And my unhappiness is due to the fact that I don't have enough Aishvarya, Shrutasya, or Shibir. That's funny. Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye. The Lord Chaitanya's praying, I don't want wealth, I don't want beautiful men or women. Or even poetic verses, like beautiful poetic verses. That's another way to understand that verse. All I want is your cause is devotional service life after life. I mean, how many of us can honestly say that is our mood, or that is our realization? We have to be internally honest with ourselves. Is it a fact that feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be 12 years or more? No. I mean, it's a fact that, feeling your separation while I'm sleeping at night, well, it's just okay. Feeling your, not thinking of you while I'm speeding in my car and getting a ticket, that's okay, Krishna. No, getting a ticket's not okay. I definitely did not see the police who gave me a ticket as Krishna's mercy. I have to be honest about it. I didn't say, Krishna's appearing to me through the time factor as the police who stopped me from speeding. I was thinking, why didn't I get away with it? I was thinking, why didn't Krishna listen to my prayers? I told the devotees the other night, when the police were actually pulling behind me to stop me for the ticket, I was praying to Krishna. Not praying, let me remember you. I was praying, Krishna, please, let them just give me a warning, please, Krishna. A warning, a warning, a warning, Krishna. Please let me not get a ticket. And they came, and he came, and he gave me a ticket. And so Krishna didn't hear my prayer. So I was saying to Krishna, why didn't you hear me, Krishna? I was asking you for something. I'm your devotee, and you're not fulfilling my desire. What kind of God are you? Anyway, so that's funny. So we have to be honest about our position. We're simply praying to not get a ticket. And now I'm simply praying that my lawyer will get me off from the ticket with the court. So I'm not exactly praying like the gopis. I have to be honest about my position. My dear Krishna, please save me. Let me never get another ticket again.
Maharaj, is that a metaphor or is really you did that?
I really did. It's not just a metaphor, it's a true story. It's a true story. I got a ticket. I was driving too fast. And the police pulled behind me, and I was praying to Krishna. True. I'm not lying.
How much?
True. How much what? We'll find out when the lawyers start dealing with it. I had to hire a lawyer.
Wow.
Because I was going really fast. I was going 24 miles faster than the speed limit.
I do that sometime, Maharaj.
Well, recently, yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago. Anyway, so sometimes we pray to Krishna for things like that.
Sorry, Krishna Gurudev, just a quick question.
Rishikesh, you have a question?
Yes, Gurudev, just a quick question. So where we understand all this COVID thing happening to an exalted Vaishnavas, of course it is Krishna's arrangement, but is it something they themselves are responsible for having it, or how do you understand it? Because Krishna will not like any devotee to suffer like this.
That's an interesting question. Well, first of all, if we have control over something, it's our responsibility. For example, if I risk my life, if I don't take care of my health, and because of that my immune system is weaker, then I have some responsibility. Am I getting COVID? However, if I tried all precautions and nothing happened, and I still got COVID, I still got COVID. In any case, we don't find fault in other devotees. We don't say that, oh, this devotee was negligent. We find fault with ourselves. You understand? It's not that, I mean, for example, I know the Kolkata temple got fired, but let's take, for example, the ticket I just got. I don't say, well, that's Krishna. I say that it's my fault because I did the speeding. You understand? Like Prabhupada commented when devotees got in a car accident because they fell asleep while driving, Prabhupada said it wasn't Krishna.
That's what exactly I was thinking in that same line.
What's that? It's hard to hear you. Your voice is breaking up.
No, what I was thinking the same with that, if something happens to me if I get exposed to COVID, it is probably my stupidity that I exposed myself. I went to the area and I got myself exposed.
All I'm saying is that
thinking that Krishna put me in this situation.
All I'm saying is that if something,
it's my responsibility.
We have a certain responsibility. I can't hear you that well, but I'll just answer that. We have our responsibility to protect ourselves insofar as possible, and then we leave the rest up to Krishna. Man proposes, God disposes. And so, if we know we did something wrong and we caused something to happen, we should take the blame for it. And even if something happens unfortunate to us, we don't blame Krishna. We say this is a token reaction for our past activities in this world. That's how a devotee sees things. Tatena kampam sushamikshmana punjanivatma kritam vipakam ridvagal purvir vedadam namaste jiveta yo mukti bade sudayabak. One sees whatever happens to him as a token reaction for what he has done before. And he goes on serving Krishna. So in other words, regardless of who you give the blame or credit or whatever to, you go on serving Krishna enthusiastically with your body, mind, and words. Okay. And now we have to end because it is time. Who knows who the bell tolls, it tolls for thee.
But Maharaj, I have
No, it's over.
just a slight
No,
question.
it's over. Token reaction. A devotee always thinks it's a token reaction.
Yes, you read my mind, Maharaj. You are
What?
connected with Super Soul. You are connected with Super Soul. You just read my mind.
I know. That's what I get paid for.
No, I mean, connection with Super Soul, you don't get paid. You get spiritual dollar. I mean, not meant.
I don't get paid. That's even worse. I should get paid. So,
Maharaj, we would be miserable if we hear something wrong would happen to you. So Krishna just gave you a little ticket instead of
yeah, that's how a devotee sees that there's no karma. It's directly Krishna giving you a token reaction for what would have happened. It's not karma for a devotee, but it's directly.
Yes.
Okay, bye-bye. See everybody tomorrow night, same time, same station. Everybody download the latest Zoom app, please.